It is almost Halloween, which means it's the start of what I like to call candy season.
Mhm.
Well, not just candy, but man, from trick or treating to candy to pies, gifted cookies, making cookies, holiday parties. Most of us will have far easier and more consistently high levels of sugar consumption from basically now until the new year. Am I right?
Oh, yeah. Yep. And for some families, this extra access to sweets is totally fine. The sweets are a fun part of the season and cause minimal issues. And if that's true for your family or some of your kids, there's no need to do anything different or change anything. There's nothing wrong with having some extra sweets sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's often a part of many traditions, like enjoy. And for many neurodivergent people, the combination of sensitive systems and executive functioning difficulties means that this season can get difficult quickly. The result of the increased sugar consumption can often result in behaviors that are surprising, confusing to the child and to the parents, and often quite stressful. I have often seen this looking like kids hoarding candy, kids lying about how much they've eaten, finding wrappers hidden places, repeatedly consuming sweets, like even when they're feeling physically ill, setting a boundary, a limit, either they have done it or parents have, and then blowing right past that, or taking things that are off limits, right?
Yeah. So let's get into it. Maybe you didn't know this was a thing or that there was a pattern there, but we're going there. So, why do neurodivergent people often struggle with regulating their intake of candy or other high sugar foods? And what can we do to support ourselves and our kids during candy season?
Welcome to Parenting Neurodivergent Humans. I'm Dr. Morgan Beidelman. I'm a psychologist, former teacher, parent to two kids, one of whom is neurodivergent, and I am neurodivergent myself.
And I'm Brianne Colpitz. I'm a school psychologist, parent to two neurodivergent kids, and I'm ADHD, which means I'm autistic and have ADHD.
Okay, so first, let's start with a little bit of background on dopamine and sugar. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that's made in our brain. Dopamine gives us feelings of pleasure and satisfaction. It actually also supports with goal orientation. And when we do things like exercise, meet a goal, have new experiences, have sex, go out in the sun, all of these things release dopamine, and they do for everyone who is human. So there is a very natural component to this, is what we're saying. And in modern society, we also have invented a lot of things. Humans have invented a lot of things that give us extremely high levels of dopamine, things that are far greater, far beyond what we would ever find as a like hit of air quotes here, but hit of dopamine, like that dopamine that we get from doing something like going for a walk or exercising or having sex or any of the things we talked about before. We get like a certain amount of dopamine. The ones that we get from human made processes are like off the charts dopaminergic levels. And so things that are processed like sugar, alcohol, gambling, or I mean, video games are not really processed, but you know what I mean, like social media and some drugs, these are all giving us really high levels of dopamine that our natural systems were not built for. So today we're going to focus on specifically highly processed sugar, but know that the pattern is similar for like basically all highly dopaminergic things. So, eating sugar releases dopamine, which all of our systems, like I said, have a desire for. And this is why most people have trouble eating just one cookie because we eat it, we get a spike in dopamine, the dopamine draws us in, and we can easily keep eating because we like getting those high levels of dopamine. And so it's kind of like a hamster on a wheel. And until we like literally don't feel well or regret like how much we're consuming, like we'll just keep going. And while all systems have this desire for dopamine, the desire is stronger in people who are have highly sensitive systems. They're often dopamine seeking, and when they get it, it can feel faster and more intense than it would in a neurotypical. So they're looking for it, and then when they get it, it feels even better, even faster, right? Essentially, they're more reactive to the dopamine, and then, as an extension of that, they can have greater difficulty following boundaries, even when they made them themselves, around making a choice that would get them kind of like out of that rat race that they're stuck in.
Oh man. What I just keep thinking of is like how somebody who is dopamine seeking could also be experiencing so much shame for what's just this like process that's happening inside them that's not necessarily in their control. So, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
lot.
the control thing is such a big deal. I hear that a lot from my kids, that it feels out of control. And if I think
Yeah.
about the adults that I serve, they're the same way, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think for kids with highly sensitive systems, parents often notice new behaviors this time of year, like regularly hoarding candy, hiding wrappers, sneaking more, just being more sneaky, or repeatedly eating to the point of sickness. If this is your kid, you're not alone. And your kid is not bad. So going back to the whole like shame cycle around this, you don't have a bad kid, okay? This is like dopamine in action. Your kid probably does not even understand why they do these things, like not a moral choice. It's also common for kids to feel regret and, as we said, shame, or just be confused after, like not really having like an awareness that, like sleepwalking almost, you know? Um yeah. Instead, they have this an urge to get dopamine and sweet things, and being readily available makes it easy to act on this urge. As a result, it might be difficult to control the impulses on their own. It's so hard. It's so hard. They may need support from adults and more developed self-control and self-regulation systems. So with adults who like have the skills to do this in theory, to be the guide, to be the mentor, to like be the model and show how it's done. So we're talking about kids here, but it's really common for neurodivergent adults too. So if things are happening with you or your partner, you're also not alone and can use these same strategies. So this is not an age-based situation. It's just how the dopamine be working.
Mhm. Yep. And, and also, Brienne, you don't have to be the perfect model, right?
Yeah,
In many cases, an imperfect model is so valuable to your kid.
right. Yeah. So if you struggle with this stuff, you're not alone. And here are like four things you can try to help your kid understand and build strategies for managing their relationship with dopamine.
Okay, yes. I see a lot of kids in my practice with this. So I do a lot of work in this area. So I'll start us off.
Yeah, yeah. I'm excited to learn more. I'm already like so much is making sense to me right now. It's all falling into place.
Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna focus. My brain was like starting to sing a song from the 80s. Okay, and we're back. Dopamine. So the first thing that I think is really, 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 really helpful to do is explain dopamine. And a lot of neurodivergent people, but not all, really benefit from like a visual to help them be able to kind of understand something that's going on. And so what I like to do is I didn't know what it was called, so I had to look it up because I wanted to call it four balls, but that didn't make sense. It's a cradle balance ball toy. Have you ever seen it? And it's like hanging. They're like these little like strands they hang down. There's a ball at the end, and then they all have a ball at the end. And then when you pull one out, if you're watching, I'm making a very crude illustration with my hand. But basically, you pull one out and then it swings back, and then they all swing to the other side, right? Not a lot of people have these now, but man, my grandpa had one when I was a kid.
I know what you're talking about. I'm
Yeah.
with you. I'm with you.
Maybe we'll put a link to it in the show notes in case you're
Oh,
like, what the heck is she talking
yeah,
about?
yeah.
But if they haven't, it actually works even better because then it's kind of like a fun thing to explore and play with. But the thing that I like about this is when you pull it, if you pull one ball, one side back just a little bit, then when you let go, the inertia like pulls it to the other side. I think it's inertia. I don't know. I'm not that kind of science
This
major.
is not a physics podcast. It's okay. It's okay.
But if you like pull it and it goes to the other side, it'll just like go just a little bit out, right? Which would be representative of doing things like going for a walk or exercising or blah blah blah, right? Like we said earlier. But if we take something that's man-made, like video games or sugar, that's going to pull this really far, the one side out really far out beyond the frame that the thing is built in, because if they hang down, it's in a little frame, right? So when you pull it out beyond the frame, like or beyond this normal structure of the being, which is what would happen if we were putting a man-made something into our bodies or into an experience, it's going to pull us outside of our natural tendencies. And when we let the ball go on that side, then it's going to swing all the way up on the other side and be really high. And then it swings back and is really high on the other side. And this back and forth pendulum that's really high and outside the bounds of this typical structure is a really good visual of what's happening for dopamine in our bodies. We do something like we play a video game, we pop it all the way out, and then it swings the other side, and when we are playing the video game, we're having a really good time. And then when we don't have the video game, we're feeling even more depressed and even sadder. And there's like essentially really, truly withdrawal symptoms, right? It's the same with candy. We are eating this candy. We're like, oh my gosh, this is so good. I'm getting more and more and more and more dopamine. And then I'm going to swing to the other side and I'm going to be like, oh, I don't feel good. Oh my gosh. Everything sucks. Blah. And then you get more candy, and then the pendulum goes back and forth and back and forth. I think this visual is so helpful. I use it in my own life when I'm on the Reese's peanut butter cup wheel. No offense. I love them. I'm not knocking them. I'm actually saying how much I love them. Right? But that visual is very helpful to recognize, like, I'm like swinging in and out and in and out and in and out. When we do that, we can explain to kids what is exactly happening for them, right? And that cycle is something that a lot of people get stuck in, not just kids. Like, it is not just your kid, it's not just with candy. And so teaching them that visual and then thinking about all the ways that you see it happen. Kids love to call out their parents. So you can ask them to be like, where do you see me in that trap? And they'll be like, you and coffee, or you and this, or, like whatever it is. But,
Mhm.
but if they can call you out on something and it's legitimate and true, then they understand the concept.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I was just thinking about what a great, and I know we have more strategies coming up, but just like family meeting topic this could be. If you
Yes,
if you're hip to family meetings, which I spontaneously call around here. Circle up, people.
we got it done.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're like, oh my gosh, like understanding this is resonating with me, or I want to learn more about it, a couple of books that I think are really good. One is Wonderfully Wired Brains. This one's focused for kids. I think it does a really nice job teaching brain basics and giving information about dopamine, and also specifically neurodivergence and neurodivergent people. Really, really great resource. If you're an adult and you're interested in this system, the dopamine system, I actually really like the book Dopamine Nation. I think that it talks about it talks about this framework and then gives a lot of different examples. It is written by a psychiatrist. So just know that it kind of has that lens, but it can be a really nice way to talk about it from an adult perspective, not for kids. But we'll link both of these in the show notes in case you are looking for more resources on that.
And I think also, talk to your kid about their experience. I just got inspired for a new group plan in my social groups because I'm like, "Oh man, this anyway, I'm inspired by this." So, yeah, talk to your kids about their experience. I can't wait to talk to kids about this. After talking to kids about what dopamine does and like how it reacts in our body, we can talk to them about their personal experience with sugar and dopamine. You might start by saying something like, hey, giving them the old some kids, a little Columbo action, if you will. Some people have extra sensitive systems, so when they're around things like Skittles, for example, common Skittle situation around here, they sometimes take more and more until they feel sick or eat more than they want. Have you ever felt like that? Or some people end up taking candy when they're not supposed to, or hiding candy because the urge to get dopamine is so strong. Has that ever happened to you? Offering kids a story similar to what you think might be going on with them can help them feel like they're not alone and more comfortable sharing their experience.
Mm,
Makes it
I
less threatening.
Yeah, I love that strategy, especially paired with an example from your own life or, some other it's like, yeah, you're not
Yeah.
alone. This is
Yeah, especially paired with parent vulnerability. Yeah. Mhm. Love it.
And then from there, I always suggest joining your child's team in trying to navigate this because, you know, let's say that your child has set a boundary around this, you've set a boundary around it, and both you're blowing past those, right? That's a pretty good indicator that this is not a behavioral choice.
Yeah.
There's something going on, especially if, let's say, they got a consequence where they lost something that's preferred, and they're still doing it. That's feeling more compulsive. That's feeling more like maybe the system is out of whack, right?
Yeah.
And so if this dopamine system is out of whack, then what happens in a traditional system is we're putting more consequence, consequence, consequence. We're getting irritated with our kid. And now our kid is going to start hiding it from us because they don't want the consequence. And now there's this shame spiral that's happening, right?
Mhm. Yep.
And so we want to disrupt that because we want the 21-year-old version of our kid who goes to a bar to or if that's something that they choose to partake in or what have you. But I picked 21. 21 made me think alcohol. But like, let's say that they go to the bar and they kind of feel that same system starting. I don't want the 21-year-old to have that be the first time that they're understanding the dopamine cycle, right?
Right,
I'd
right.
way rather my 8-year-old be struggling with Reese's than my or whatever. Let's not hate on Reese's. Skittles, Mounds, I don't know, whatever it is, right? Like I'd rather my kid not struggle at all in that regard, but like struggle is good in some degree. And the insight that comes through struggle is even better. And I would way rather my 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old be struggling with stopping candy and understanding the cycle that they're getting into than my 21, 22, 23-year-old be doing it in something much more consequential than candy, right?
Yeah. Agreed.
So when I partner with my kid and we have those conversations, then we're on the same team, right?
Yeah. Right.
So it starts with the conversation, Brianne, that you were talking about, like the some people, right? And then it kind of moves into kind of hearing a little bit more about their lived experience and like what it's like for them. And then what we're talking about here is ways to reduce, right? So, like, what could they do if they take the, if they're having the urge, what is something that we could do when they're having the urge? A lot of times when you have an urge, the most helpful thing to do is to say it out loud to somebody, right?
Mm.
And to have that urge be met with compassion. So that would be like the first thing, right? And then the other thing that I like to do is offer my kid a way out or offer a kid that I'm treating a way out, meaning they've already grabbed the candy, right? And they have it and they're like, right? Normally, they would have already basically crossed the threshold into consequence land, typically, right? Because they've taken it and they weren't supposed to take it, right? But instead, I'm going to offer my kid a way out. They can put it on the candy. They can put it on the table. They can put it on the floor. They can put, well, unless you have a dog or whatever, but like you can put it somewhere, right? You could go and just like hand it to me. You could throw it in my room and close the door. You could like, right? And you and your child can come up with these ways out. And the third is to do a reflection. And that's often where like I'll do things where it's like, all right, like I have a lot of kids who hide things under mattresses because out of sight, out of mind. It's a way to minimize shame. So they will eat the candy and they're like, oh, shove it on the mattress, right? Or maybe they're in the living room and they shove it under the couch cushion, right? So if you've identified where they often do that, then one of the things that I'll do with kids is we'll count them. We'll lift off that mattress, lift off that cushion. We'll count the number of wrappers and we'll say, is it more or less or the same? Like, right? And if it's more, we just have more awareness. Like, do we wanna try a different strategy? Do we wanna just throw it out? We can always go buy a candy from time to time, and we don't have to keep it in our house, right? But that's where you can open up into a conversation, and if there's reduction, great. If it's equal, alright. Do we wanna keep the same path? Do we wanna try something else? And if it's more, right? But it allows you guys to come at the problem together and move forward from there.
Right. And so, Morgan's saying basically like be a team and then, create the plan. So when you're creating a plan, you can think about maybe like the two goals of like limiting access, just not having the thing around, right? Or limiting the impact of the dopamine effect. Like, so how are you going to minimize the dopamine situation, right? So for
Mhm.
limiting access, choose not to keep a lot of sweets in the house, right? That's what that is. Maybe you can do it's like, hey, we're still gonna go trick or treating, but we're gonna do the switch witch, or where you trade your candy in for some other dopamine inducing prize. Or maybe you donate your candy like to a program like Soldier Angels that has drop off points around the country where kids can donate candy to be shipped to troops. Many
Love
locations
that
of
organization.
Yeah,
Love that.
many locations of Ronald McDonald House also accept candy donations. Yeah, check out the nonprofits around you, people who are doing things, and see if that's how you're going to do it. Like, hey, we're still going to trick or treat, we're still going to do the things. You're not in trouble, but we know we can't have this around, right? And so that's a way to make that happen. On the idea of limiting the impact of the sweets you're going to have, eat a meal or drink a glass of water before trick or treating or attending events where you know there's going to be access to a lot of sugar. When kids ask for something sugary, yeah, and what other, what snack can you have that's protein? That's how we
Pair with
talk about like longer lasting energy around our house. It's like we know candy is going to give us a boost for a minute, but we need like long energy food. So if you haven't had that talk with your kids, that's a whole other thing. But and we're not trying to demonize food. We're not trying to make food good and bad. We're just trying to acknowledge that, hey, when we eat this, this happens. And when this happens, people don't feel good. And, like stuff goes sideways, like whatever it looks like for you. And then figuring out how you're going to have less of that. Right. And so maybe not having it around or just knowing like, hey, you can have this if when you also eat this hummus and carrots or whatever it is, way to have like some protein, a handful of almonds or with some cheese or whatever. So you can also like tweak food items to reduce sugar and balancing other ingredients. So maybe adding oats to cookies, sparkling water to juice, choosing higher fiber desserts like those with pumpkin or berries, just seeing where you can make those switches. Again, not trying to make your life hard, but if you want, ideas for those things, you can give it a Google and figure out some switches for that.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be a whole lot of
Oh, yeah.
what to do with your Halloween candy kind of stuff coming out. And so this might pair nicely with some of those ideas if you're looking for ideas. There will not be a shortage, I can guarantee you.
Yeah.
And so, really by proactively teaching our kids about dopamine and having them reflect on their experience, partnering with them, making a plan, we can turn something that is often quite painful and shame cycle-y into a learning experience. Like even the things that Brianne just talked about, you could talk with your kids about those things, right? Like not just say you have to have a slow energy food if you're having a quick energy food, but like really explaining and talking with them, exploring how your body's feeling, like all of that is opportunities to learn and to think about it a little bit more deeply. And by helping them understand how their bodies work and trying on strategies, like I said earlier, we're really helping prepare them for young adults who can understand and have effective strategies to manage their relationship with dopamine. And I don't know about you, Brian, but I don't foresee us having less access to dopaminergic things in the future.
Nope, absolutely not. So, really crucial thing to understand.
Yeah. Yeah. Just before we wrap, though, I want to make sure to add two asterisks.
Caveats, maybe?
Yeah, let's say that. I was like, asterisks? That's not a word, is it? Caveats. Let's go with that. If you have a child who can usually regulate themselves around sweets, right? But occasionally eats a little too much here, takes an extra piece of candy, I would not worry too much about this strategy. I would probably still teach them about dopamine because I think it's helpful for everyone, but there is no need to add an extra layer of rules or complexity if this is a one or two off kind of thing. What we're talking about here is when Halloween comes, you're like, I know what's gonna happen here, right? Like this, it is, there's a level of impact that's really being had for you, your child, your relationship between you and your child, etc. Caveat number two is if you have a kiddo who is exhibiting these behaviors year round and or they have like a high trauma background, that may be something a little bit different. And in that case, I would really recommend working with a psychologist to unpack these behaviors and getting individualized support in an instance like that.
Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week to talk about something so many neurodivergent families struggle with: after school restraint collapse, which is just a fancy way of saying that after school meltdown or shutdown that so many of us experience. So make sure you join us for that. If we are a good fit for you, follow us on Instagram. Dr. Morgan is at Dr. Morgan Beitelman, and Brienne is at It's Brienne Colpitts. You can find the podcast on YouTube and Patreon at Parenting Neurodivergent Humans.
And as always, if you have a question or topic you want us to cover, send us a note. You can message us on Instagram or use the Google form in the show notes.
And as always, thank you to our editor and producer, Erica Carpenter. We appreciate you.
Thanks for joining us. See you next week.
A nap sounds so good. So does a cookie. Is this episode for me? Maybe. Just a quick disclosure, this podcast is for educational purposes only. It does not constitute a psychologist-client relationship and should not be used in place of an expert evaluation or therapy.
Oh, frozen Reese's peanut butter cups. That
Oh.
sounds delicious.
It's so good. I thought it was going to be a way to avoid eating them. Turns out I liked the challenge and the sugar.
Oh, double dopamine. Ugh.